Hypocrisy at its finest. Thunder fans chant free throw merchant at Nikola Jokic. What is going on? Plus, fouling up three and the Nets offseason plans revealed, all on this episode today of the Basketball Bulletin. I'm Trevor Lane. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Joined by Donnie Freeman. Donnie, well, I guess first let me ask you this. Should you foul up three?
Three, man, that's super conservative. Probably no.
Probably no. And the Thunder paid the price. They fouled up three. It is the least fun thing in basketball when a team is up three and they foul to make sure the other team does not get off a three-point attempt. The Thunder were super aggressive with it, and it burned them in last night's game. I've been saying for years that if more teams start to adopt the strategy, and I think the strategy makes sense, the stats show the strategy makes sense, but if more teams do it, they're going to have to legislate it out of the game because it's just not fun. Instead of getting a late game buzzer beater with everything on the line, you get both teams trading free throws, like the least exciting thing ever. So I think more teams should do it, but if they do, then you know what? We need to change something. And from now on, for the next, decade, people are going to be pointing back to that Thunder Nuggets game from last night and saying that's the cautionary tale of what can happen when you foul like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure conservative was the right word, but what I will say is that I can understand it more when it's up two. That makes more sense, so you don't lose on that buzzer-beating three. But when you're up three, the worst that can happen, unless you foul a three-point shooter that makes it, is you go to overtime. So, I just wouldn't do it. But if you played out last night's game over a dozen times, how many of them resulted in that winning shot from Gordon?
Sure. I mean,
maybe they could have been vindicated.
But wait, but we need to go back a little bit. Did you say you would foul up two?
Well, I can understand it a little bit more, so you don't
just so you don't lose on a three. Like that's beyond conservative. I'm so worried about getting a three drop on me that I'm going to give you two free throws, Donnie. No one would ever do that.
Do it.
Fouling up two.
You know what?
What's happening?
You know, I'm clearly backwards on this, so I'm gonna roll with it anyway. I'm thinking about the up three notion. You're right. You're right, but I'm not gonna let you have it. You know what's even funnier? Fouling up one.
That's oh my god!
You can justify it if you've got the hack-a-shack going on.
You could be fouling a blind free throw shooter, and you're not fouling up one. Come on.
I can't talk today. I don't know where my mind's at, okay? Just let me have this.
Free throw merchant. All right. Here we go. So we've got this that happened here. The Oklahoma City Thunder crowd. Now, it was an incredible comeback win for the Denver Nuggets, but check this out. Check out the hypocrisy of this moment. This is Nikola Jokic going to the free throw line. They're chanting free throw merchant at Nikola Jokic.
Ain't that the pot calling the kettle black?
Right. You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on your team. What are we doing here? Yeah. This is absolutely crazy. I know people will say, well, you complain about fouls all the time, and you guys have Luka, you've got Austin Reeves on your team.
No, I'll be the first one to tell you, those dudes are straight foul.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So, Jokic getting free throw merchant chanted out. Are there moments where Jokic embellishes contact? Sure, but there's also a lot of moments where Jokic gets fouled and doesn't get a call just because he's so big. So I can't believe the Thunder crowd is actually chanting. And look, Donnie, I'm not a fan of the Denver Nuggets, far from it, but it makes me a little bit more happy that the Nuggets won. That number one, the Thunder were trying to rob us of fun basketball by fouling up three. And number two, that the crowd had the audacity to chant free throw merchant at Nikola Jokic when their team employs Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, that's why I said I know that's not who I think it is, talking about some free throw merchant. Yeah, what was it with the Thunder in all seriousness? Was it that he gets a lot, but the team as a whole doesn't get a lot? Was that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, the whole narrative around free throw merchant, I think, can be a little bit overblown for some guys in some circumstances. Really, what I think is where it's more egregious is when you have a guy that gets a lot of their points or a huge portion of their points, like not to take a shot at Jimmy, just to stray, but during the regular season, he was getting a lot of his points from the free throw line, and at that point, I think that's where it's a little bit more egregious. And when guys are averaging double digits, which I don't know if Shea did, but I know Nick didn't do that. I think that's where it's worse. But these guys both took 9 and 13 free throws. I thought that was fine. Maybe the context of that specific foul, maybe he flopped specifically on that foul. Maybe that's what it is. But
it could be. But still, like over the course of the playoffs, you look at who's taking the most free throws per game. Yeah. Oh yeah, Giannis, right? Because Giannis was just putting his head down and driving every time.
Giannis is weird because he's the one big dude that doesn't succumb to the he's too big, too strong thing.
Because he gets going so damn fast at the basket that teams have no choice but to try to just smack his arms, do whatever they can to try to stop him. But you look at SGA getting more free throws per game than Nikola Jokic by a significant amount, 25% more per game than Nikola Jokic, and that's in the playoffs. We'll look at the regular season where SGA was third in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. How far down do we have to go to find Nikola Jokic? I mean, he's in
like the 5'6" range.
Is he?
Yeah, that's where he's 13.
Oh, there he is. I missed him. Yep, there he is, 13th. So calling Jokic a free throw merchant when you've got SGA and we know about the things that he does to get to the free throw line, is SGA as egregious as some of the guys in the past? No, I think James Harden, Trae Young, some of those guys have been worse.
So guys at 7 and 8 still on the list.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a difference. Like you mentioned, Jimmy Butler gets to the free throw line oftentimes via pump fakes. He gets the defender in the air, defenders land on him, and that's how he goes to the free throw line. I put that in a different category than the stuff where you're grabbing a defender's arm and then pulling it across and then throwing your arms on it. That's the kind of stuff players were doing, and thankfully they're not getting away with that as much anymore. But SGA does do a lot of stuff, and SGA gets into the whole let me find a defender and run into him type thing in the paint that guards can still get away with. So I just think it's the height of hypocrisy for Thunder fans to be calling Nikola Jokic a free throw merchant when they've got SGA on their team.
Styles make fights, right? And in this case, maybe the Thunder shouldn't be fouling up one.
No one should ever. It's foul up 3 or not.
Trevor,
foul up
Trevor,
2.
I already have egg on my face because I misremembered the way it works because it's too early in the morning for this crap. Okay, let me have this.
Oh no! All right, the next thing we've got, and everybody, let us know in the comment section what you think about the fouling up 3 strategy, but also let us know your thoughts about Thunder fans chanting free throw merchant and Nikola Jokic. The Nets, though, their plans have been revealed, and maybe not a surprise, but the Nets, from rival teams, they are not planning a true long-haul tank, even after acquiring their own picks back last summer, which is right before they did the Mikal Bridges trade. It's why they did the Bridges trade, was so they could fully tank. The Nets have the most salary cap space in the league this offseason, but with a top-heavy 2026 draft on the horizon and a roster in need of major modifications in order to compete for a playoff spot, patience is still a virtue here. So, in other words, if we want to read through what's being said here, Brooklyn right now has the 6th best lottery odds, or they're 6th in the lottery ranking anyway, not truly the best odds because they're flattened out a bit, but Brooklyn is 6th right now in terms of the draft pick ranking. They want to get a nice pick this year, whether that's 6, maybe it's 7, maybe it's 1. Who knows what's going to happen there? They want to get a good pick this year. They want to get a good pick next year. And then they want to really start going and winning games. And so they're going to take that cap space that they've got, and they're going to try to utilize that the best way they can, add assets, tank this year. They already did that. Tank next year probably, and then hopefully really be on the bounce back. That's essentially what that means. Not a surprise, because Donnie, I thought about it. What team that's tanking says we want to do this for a long time?
Right.
Nobody says that.
I don't think that happens.
Nobody says that.
No,
so I think this is the plan.
Yeah, they may have some forward thinking where that's planned out, but even if they feel that way, they're not going to publicize it.
No.
But yeah, I think with them, they've shown in the past over the last 5-6 years that they try to bounce back as quickly as possible, and we'll see what happens with them for sure. Do you think they're going to I mean, they've got the cap space. Do you think they're going to be able to get anybody significant off of that? I know the market is shallow.
I think they're a team that is very much going to be interested in Giannis. If and when Giannis gets traded, I think they're going to go all after him. And if they do, that's going to completely shift their strategy. I think if you're the Nets, you have to have two plans. You have to have plan one, you don't get Giannis, and you build around whoever you get in the draft, and then you go from there. The second plan, though, has to be Giannis is available. If we get him, how do we sell him? If we can get him, how do we sell him on staying a Brooklyn Net? In other words, how do we turn this team, once we get Giannis, into an immediate title contender we can win right now? And some of it could come down to the draft lottery here and what happened. Let's just see. Let's spin the wheel. I mean, there you go. They moved up right there. They moved up to the 3 pick in this draft. New Orleans moved all the way up to number 1. Wow, lucky New Orleans. Yet again. Spin it again. Spin it again. There, now Brooklyn stays 6. Philly moves up. Whatever.
Third time's a charm. Give them number 1.
Get Brooklyn number 1. I got one where Dallas was number 1.
They keep getting 6.
Yeah, they keep getting. Well, that's okay. That's what they're most likely going to get. So, in this case, with the Brooklyn Nets, if they get a high draft pick, do you flip that for Giannis? Plus other stuff, obviously.
I mean, if they get the number 1 pick, I don't do that personally. But the other high picks are game.
There you go. They got
number 2 there. I mean,
and that go around.
There's a few prospects here that I like. You could argue maybe against trading the first couple of picks, but I think unless you get Cooper, I'm trading it.
So there is a chance that the Nets get a high draft pick this year. They turn that plus other stuff. Maybe it's Cam Johnson or whatever it's going to be, and you send it to Milwaukee for Giannis, and then you've got to be able to take your remaining cap space, your remaining assets, cash them in right now, and put a team around Giannis that can win. And whatever that plan is, that will determine what Giannis thinks about being traded there, if he wants to be there, all of that. But your other plan has to be, well, maybe Giannis doesn't get traded. Maybe Giannis gets traded somewhere else, maybe Houston or something like that. And then how do you build this out? And it's got to be, hopefully you get a good pick this year, get a good pick next year, make some smart moves. Maybe you move on from Cam Johnson. I know a lot of teams want him, but they've maintained a high asking price for him. Maybe you eventually get that asking price met. You can see what they do with Nick Claxton, and then you build your team out around this year's draft, next year's draft, and whatever you can do creatively with your cap space. So I think those are the two paths right now for the Brooklyn Nets. Them saying they don't want it to be a long-term thing. Okay, that makes most teams are going to say that in their position, but I do think they've got the ability to pivot quickly and rebuild. And this is why I love the Mikal Bridges trade so much for the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, definitely. That was probably the best possible outcome for them. And, I do wonder how much they'll be able to get for Cam or Nick if they decide to move them, or what they're going to do with, Melton and Russell. They've got a lot of decisions to make on this roster. But I do think they can get something back for those top 2 guys for sure. And maybe you use those that you could potentially put them in a Giannis trade, I guess, but maybe you use those assets to go get you more flexibility or some other players to play around Giannis if you theoretically land him, for example. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a
lot of flexibility.
There's a lot of flexibility. A lot of flexibility here for the Nets. But again, right now, all we know is their plan is not to have a long-term rebuild. And I suspect that if and when, and it does seem like it's just a matter of time, Giannis asks out, the Brooklyn Nets are going to be one of those teams, putting in a phone call to the Milwaukee Bucks and trying to do what they can to get him. Everybody give us your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about the Nets as a potential landing spot for Giannis? Should they just try to build around the draft and then go from there? And the hypocrisy in OKC. What do you think about that situation? Also, has Donnie lost his mind? What do you think about Donnie's very bold plan to foul up 2? Give us your thoughts on that.
Foul up 1.
Up 1. God.
Hey, man, hack and sack. You can do it. You can do it. Just do it. Just don't do it in the last 2 minutes of the game.
But you shouldn't do it. That's the thing. You shouldn't.
But you can, though.
But you could. All right, everybody. See ya and stay safe.